Alright, I'm going to show you how to create interfaces. So I've got this Visual Studio 2019. I'm going to create a new project, and this one is going to be a Windows Form app. So you can search for that Windows Form app up here, or you can just, I have it saved right here, and I'm using the .NET framework. I'm going to call my app Greetings. And I'll go ahead and create that. Once I have my app up, I want to make sure I have my toolbox available. So you can go to View, if you don't have it, and you can put your toolbox in here like this. And so I want to create a couple buttons. So I'll drag in some buttons, and maybe I'll make it look pretty at some point in the near future. But let's create a couple buttons so we can test some things out. So I'll drag all these buttons over to this side. I'll go down here and shrink my app a little bit so it fits into the screen. Alright, so my first button I'm going to have be my greet button, and then my other three buttons are going to change languages. So I'll go to the first button, and on this properties menu I will change the text of the button and the name of the button. So I go first, change the name. The name of the button, I'm going to call it BTN Greet for button greet, and then I'll go down and I will change the text to be greet. Alright, then I go to the next button and I can change the text right here. I'll change this one to English, and I will change the name of the button, so BTN English. Go to the next one, change this one to BTN, let's go with Spanish, and down here change the text so it says Spanish. And the last one, let's go ahead and go with maybe Japanese, and change the button name to be BTN Japanese. Alright, so now I have four buttons and this form. I can change my form name as well if I want, or I can change it, change the text of the form. So let's go ahead and change that. So I'll just call this Greetings. Alright. Alright, now at this point I have this all created, and I want to make interfaces and classes. So I go up here to my Greetings project, and I add a new item. So add new item, I can just do Control-Shift-A. Control-Shift-A. There we go. And I want to add an interface. And this one I'm going to call my I for interface lang. ilang. Add that. And then my ilang interface, it's part of the Greetings namespace. I want to, I think I can make this public. And this I'm going to get public string greet. It does not like public, so I'll take that out. So I got this string greet, and this is my interface. Next, I want to create three classes that are based on this ilang interface. So I got English, Spanish, and Japanese. So I'll go over here and I will Control-Shift-A, and I'll add a class now. I'll call this one English. Add that one. I'll do Control-Shift-A. I will add Spanish, and Control-Shift-A, and I had Japanese. Alright, so each one of these I want to inherit from the ilang interface. So I'll just do a colon and then ilang right there, and make this a public class. Now you can see it's underlined right now, and the reason is because it's not implementing all of the methods in the ilang interface. So I'll go down to show potential fixes, and I can implement the interface, and it'll just create this greet thing right here. And all this thing does is returns a string with that language's greeting. So I can just do return konnichiwa. Konnichiwa. Alright, and then this one is done. I'll go back and do that with the other ones as well. So I go to Spanish, make it a public class, and make it so it inherits from the ilang. And then I want to show potential fixes, and I can implement the interface, which creates this method here, and I can just return hola. Then I do the same thing with English. Where is it? Right here. English, once again, make it a public class that implements the ilang interface, and I want to implement the interface and just return hello. So then all these now have been implemented. You can do much more complex things than this, but I just want to show you how the interfaces work. So now that these are all taken care of, the question is, where do we use this, or how do we use this? So I'll go and save everything, and then I will jump over to my design, and I have this greet, and then English, Spanish, and Japanese. What I want to do is take the English, Spanish, and Japanese buttons and make them change an object I have stored in memory in the background. And then the greet will use whatever object is stored in the background and then use methods from it. So I go ahead and I can right click on this and I can view my code for the Form 1. In it, I have this class, and I want to create a private ilang object called language, and maybe in the initialization I want to set it to something, so I'll do language equals a new, let's start with English. So by default it will use a new English, it'll use an English as the default. However, every time I click a button I want to be able to change what language is being used, and I want it to be able to call the language. So I'll go back to my form design, I'll double click on my greet, and it'll create a method right here that whenever the greet button is pressed, it does something. So what does it do? I want it to do a message box. Message box dot show, and I want to have whatever my language dot greet displayed. So save that. All right, now how do I change the language? Well, I'll go back to my design again and double click on English. And in this case, whenever I click on the English one, I want my language to be set to a new English. So just like what I did with the initialization. So I can set it back to English. Go back to my design, double click on Spanish, and I can have language equals a new Spanish. Now you gotta remember, English and Spanish are different class objects. So they're different classes, but they both implement the ilang interface, and so you can treat this language as an ilang, which then is either in English, a Spanish, or a Japanese. Then I go back here and double click on the Japanese, and my language gets set to a new Japanese. I can save that. All right, at this point, I am ready to test my application. Just save everything up and build it and go. All right, first I'm going to test the greet button. It says hello. I click English. Didn't crash. I press greet. It says hello. Press Spanish. Press the greet. It says hola. I press Japanese. And then I press greet and it says konnichiwa. Go back to English, greet, and then back to hello. So you can see how this thing works. It's pretty simple. It's just treating each one of those objects as an ilang, and then it runs the greet method to grab the information and then pass it to the message box. And that's how you can do interfaces.